Welcome to the R Readiness Lens podcast, where we're focused on numbers and driven by results. I'm your host, Sheri Radler, and each week we'll take a closer look at practical ways to get your business ready for what's next. From firm planning for the upcoming quarter to finding the right health insurance for your team. Whether you're a small or mid-sized business owner looking for advisory support or just want to better understand your numbers, you're in the right place. Let's get started. So, hey, welcome to this week's session of our Readiness Lens. In this episode, we're bringing in Nikki Mullins, our Director of Client Services here at our accounting group. And each week, Nikki and the team are responsible. They actually issue cash flow statements and reports out to many of our clients. So we had to bring her into this conversation about cash flow so she could bring some information, insights into what it actually is, what she sees hitting our clients' world, and how you could possibly improve yours. Hope you enjoy. So if you've been listening to us so far, you understand that we frame everything through the readiness lens. And for us, that means we're looking from the perspective of we want to have clarity today so that you have the information you need to make the decisions to have a successful tomorrow. So what are we talking about, the difference between cash flow and profit? Well, internally, we kind of say it this way. Revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash, that is the reality. And we say this a lot because it's true. I mean, Nikki can attest to this. And we say it a lot because it comes up because it gets run into so much, the business owners do. So when we say this, it makes you feel a little uncomfortable. It's not that because you're doing anything wrong. It's usually because you've lived at least one part of this. That deception between, I thought I'm making money, but where is it? Because revenue looks impressive. Profit gives the reality of what's happening, but cash is determining whether or not we have what we need to pay for and make the decisions for what comes next. So this comes up a lot in client meetings because we're reviewing the balance, or we're reviewing the P&L with them. We're talking about the operations, your revenue, your expenses, and we're coming down to the bottom line. And then it's like, oh, you're doing great. You're making money. And the fastest question we get back is, well, where is it? Because you're telling me I'm making money and I feel broke. And truthfully, it comes from people that are doing things right, pretty much. They're doing the steps, but the disconnect is there. So what we're trying to say isn't that profit is be all end all, but we have to understand the difference between where we at on cash. So, I mean, Nikki, what do you got on this?
You know, the stress with cash comes up at the worst times. Payroll week, estimated taxes, or right after growth. It's rarely random. It is generally when timing collides with obligations. And this is where readiness really matters. Because if you're not watching closely, you can spend the same dollar twice. Doing things like scheduling out your payables biweekly so that it's on opposite weeks from your payroll is one of the ways that you can kind of even that out.
I mean, that's true. I mean, because it's not a discipline problem and it's not even about being bad with money. It's a timing. It's understanding the cadence of how that money is moving in your business, right?
Right.
Okay. So, I mean, when we talk about it, let's go back a little bit. Profit is the validation. The business model we're running is coming to a bottom line that is positive. What we said we were going to go out and do, we are doing, and we are doing it and making money. But then we wonder where it goes. The cash is the indicator of our operational readiness. It is the grease that keeps the movement of the operations flowing. And it can get confusing trying to determine those two exposures. Profit is telling us, is the business model working? Cash is telling us, can I make my next decision? Can I afford my next hire? Can we take this next cycle of business that we need to do? Because at the bottom line, profitable businesses go bankrupt all the time. They close the doors all the time, and it's not because their business model isn't solid. It's because that cadence of money they were unable to stabilize, and they didn't have the backstop, the emergency savings, the line of credit, or something that allowed them to bridge those variances as money was moving through. True?
Well, this is why owners typically feel they're doing everything right, but they're still behind. Growth can often make cash feel worse before it gets better. More sales can create pressure because you've got this money sitting on AR that is not being collected yet, but you're spending money on the inventory that you want to sell to those clients.
Okay. So yeah, that cycle we have to front. If we were a brand new business, we would be purchasing all our inventory before we even opened up the doors and started our sales cycle. And if
Right.
you're purchasing that on time on receivables, that's, you know, extending it even further. So, I mean, that's a great point. So just because we earned it doesn't actually mean we collected it, right?
Right. Right.
Okay. So it's
Well,
more important for when cash walks in the door than necessarily when the product walks out.
exactly. And also, monthly averages can lie to you as well, Sheri. You can see on your profit and loss that you're spending $2,000 for insurance, but what it doesn't tell you is that there was a $24,000 insurance bill that came in the door that you had to put cash out for. It's just allotting that $2,000 over the months. And believe me, it does not care what month it is whenever it comes to payroll and things like that. Cash stresses usually come from the lumpiness that people don't quite understand with money in, money out.
Yeah, I mean, you're right about that. So, I mean, the cash can walk out the door long before we've even done the sale. We
Mm-hmm.
can have to spend the money for things like the estimated taxes or ongoing payroll that don't care what revenue is coming in the door. They don't care whether we're having good days or bad days.
Right.
You know, so what happens is, you know, they don't, just because we have these up and downs of the timing our cash flow, it doesn't mean that the business model isn't working. It means that it's actually operating. But
Mm-hmm.
those during growth could be fronting that money, and we realize that the terms in which we're both purchasing and selling can
Mm-hmm.
really impact that flow of money. If we're purchasing on net 30-day terms and selling on net 60, you got almost a 90-day potential cycle there. You know,
Yes.
you have a fast overlap. Those funds are leaving out the door faster than you're going to be collecting them.
And there's also loan payments. Loan payments use cash, but they don't reduce your profit. And owner draws don't show up on the profit and loss. It shows up on the balance sheet. But your bank account really does fill those things.
You're true. So again, we're looking, the business owner is looking at that P&L coming down, and like, you're telling me we're running a good business. Where is it going? So that's where you start questioning. That's where the burnout, because when you start feeling that cash stress, you know, we stop trusting. It's like if you're feeling that bottom line and you're like, where's my money? You stop trusting that the reports are actually valid. You start questioning. And I mean, that's not what we want to do.
No, and that also, you're correct on that. They also start delaying decisions. They underpay themselves, and they ultimately avoid opportunities because they're worried about the cash side.
Okay. So one of the things we look at, so when we're talking to business owners and we are looking at that P&L and we come to the bottom line and it's like, okay, and they look back at us and they're like, so where is it? Well, this is where, guys, we move over to the second report. We're going to move over to the balance sheet, because the balance sheet is where the money actually starts moving. And the secret is, and now's a great time to do it because we're brand new into a year, run last year's balance sheet and compare it to prior year. And we're going to look side by side and we're going to start seeing where our money went. So that top section is our assets. This is what we own. This can be cash, liquid. This is inventory in the warehouse. This is property, equipment, vehicles that we own. And, you know, possibly it's something someone owes us. Did that number go up and down? Because we can lose cash liquidity and increase inventory, and it's just a shift of where money is. You're not as liquid, but you still have something as valuable. It can go to your liabilities. That's the second section. Who do we owe? Who outside of our organization, a third party, has the ability to say, you owe me money? These are our vendors. These are our employees. These are our loans, our mortgages, our taxes. Do we owe more or less? Because again, that money is leaving. But if it's reducing our debt, it's paying down our buildings, it is purchasing and paying down loans. It's a good spend of money if managed properly. And then, of course, the third place it walks out the door is through equity. Investors, dividends, owner draws, it goes out the door to somebody. So when you look at that comparative between this last year and the prior year, that is where you're seeing where did the changes go on your balance sheet. Really critical place. So if you're trying to figure out where that money is hiding, take a peek.
This is also where business owners have their biggest oh wow moments. But if they don't take the time to do that comparison, they can fall into bad habits, such as your bank balance. They're using this as how much cash they have, and it really is just a snapshot. It is where you've been. It is not where you're going. It does not know when payroll's coming through. It doesn't know that you've written 3 checks. You've written that $24,000 check for the insurance that we discussed a while ago. So it really doesn't know those things.
So it only can tell you what the bank knows is only what has shown up.
Exactly. Just to give you an example, we have a client that buys machinery, and the machinery purchases always seem to fall in line with when we're needing to pay payroll. And he's like, hey, we've got all this money in the bank. No, we don't. Payroll's coming. We've got these other obligations. But that is also where utilizing a line of credit has helped us get through those types of things whenever that happens. Cash isn't always available. The bank balance just tells you where you were. Cash flow tells a different story, and it doesn't have to be complex. A cash flow is you could do a weekly cash check-in just to see where you're at. Start with your bank balance. List out what you know is incoming deposits. List out items in transit, and that will get you to the cash that you truly have. And then that goes into the obligations that you have upcoming.
Yeah. I mean, like Nikki said, we build these out a lot of times with clients in just Excel. Whether it is weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, but it is that opening cash. And you can have as many lines here as you want. Whose money's coming in this week, next month? When's payroll coming out? We try to plot it out like 13 weeks is like industry, 13 weeks. But when is payroll leaving? The insurance hits at the same time every month. Utilities hit at the same time every month. So bank plus money in minus money out comes to a new balance. But if you build this, it allows you start to see the cadence of how money is moving through your world. Mm-hmm. And when you start looking at it proactively, you start looking at it ahead of time, it keeps you from having to do that. Oh, wow. Oh, no. What happens? Got to make a call. Got to do something. Always seems to be at 5 o'clock on the afternoon on a Friday, the day before a holiday. I mean, it always is. But it allows you to start looking a little further ahead because we want to understand, yes, profit is building our future. Cash is building our now, and readiness is understanding the difference between the two.
And when business owners can understand that and separate these ideas, it helps them feel less burdened and more in control of their business. This clarity brings confidence, which brings us back to the revenue is vanity, profit is sanity, and cash is reality.
Yeah. Okay. So thanks for spending time with us today on episode 7 of R Readiness Lens. Today's focus was on cash flow and why cash is different from profit and why understanding the difference and clarifying it is really critical in your business. Misunderstanding can expose you to risk. And the truth is we're trying to come up and try to help protect you against this. So please take the moment, look at the resource we've given and hold yourself up to the lens. See how you evaluate yourself. How do you understand the cash movement through your business? Maybe it can help you shine a light on some of it. And on our next episode, we're excited to bring a client in to have a conversation about his journey. AJ's been with us pre-our accounting. He has been with us almost forever, and he is going to come in and talk about his story, where he was, what got him to call, what was his struggles, what was he navigating, and talk about where that journey ultimately led him, because we really think it was a great indicator how that readiness mindset, that readiness view allowed him and us to work with him over a period of years to get him to the end result that he wanted. So thanks again for listening, and we hope to see you again next time. Thanks for joining me on the R Readiness Lens podcast. If you found this episode helpful, connect with me on LinkedIn and follow along on Instagram for more tips and resources. And if you're ready to take your business to the next level, be sure to rate the podcast and subscribe so you never miss an upcoming episode. Until next time, keep your numbers clear and your goals in focus.